Morning, everyone. House Committee on Transportation will come to order. If the clerk will open the roll for attendance, please. All right. Clerk will close the roll. We have a quorum. Okay, we're going to be hearing some of the final bills that have come through the Transportation Committee from some committees. I know there are a lot of folks here to see what happens to legislation that's come out of subcommittee. We will be entertaining technical questions on any bills that are being reported out of subcommittee from members of the committee for the patron or their expert. But because these bills were heavily litigated in committee, we will not be hearing new testimony in the full committee today. The bills have been heard and given a full hearing in sub, so we will be reserving this time for technical questions for any members, again, for the patron of bills or any of the experts that they may have available to help answer technical questions. So with that, I'm going to turn to Subcommittee 3 report from Delegate Reed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll begin with House Bill 645, where the patron is Delegate Reeser, and this provides that parking spaces reserved for charging electric vehicle signs removes the requirement that a sign noting the actual space is for the actual amount for the civil penalty, and the subcommittee recommended reporting 7-1, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk will open the roll. Clerk will close the roll. Bill reports 14-5. Delegate Reed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 657 by Delegate Sullivan has a substitute, so I'll move the substitute.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Substitutes before us. Delegate Reed.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 657 passed out of the subcommittee 7-1. It allows persons riding a bicycle, electric personal assisted mobility device, electric power assisted bicycle, moped, or motorized skateboard or scooter while remaining in the travel lane to follow the pedestrian control signal to their right at an intersection when traveling in the direction of the signal. The subcommittee recommended reporting the substitute, and I so move.
All right. The substitute has been. Did you move a substitute, Delegate, or the bill?
Reported as substituted.
I see. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. So moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll. Clerk will close the roll. The bill reports. Delegate Reed.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1047 by Delegate Batten. This bill also has a substitute, so I move the substitute.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Substitutes before us. Delegate Reed.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. This extends from 12 months to 24 months the period for which a vehicle safety inspection is valid for a new vehicle only, and it has no physical impact. It does have a physical impact, and so therefore the subcommittee recommended reporting the substitute and referring it to appropriations, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll. Refer to appropriations. Okay. The clerk will close the roll. Bill reports 19-0. Delegate Reed.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1077 by Delegate Carr has additional line amendments that are being presented to the full committee, and so I will ask the council to, because these are technical amendments, I'm going to ask the council to provide a description of those.
Madam Chair, Delegate Reed, both HB 1077 and 1266 reported out of subcommittee. They both amended the same section, but there were still some technical differences. So what this bill does, or what these line amendments do, are bring it to make it identical to the same section of 1266 as it reported from the subcommittee. And those line amendments are on line 17 of the introduced bill after intersection, strike of two highways. On line 20 of the introduced bill after years, strike old, insert of age. On line 21 after existing, strike highway. On line 22 after person, strike yields the right of way to, inserts stop for. And on line 23 after at the beginning of line 23 of the introduced bill, strike lawfully. On line 23 after and, strike to the driver of another, insert for any other.
All right, do you hear a motion to adopt the amendments?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the amended bill is before us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With the amended bill before us, this bill authorizes the operator of a bicycle, electric personal assisted mobility device, power-assisted bicycle, motorized skateboard, scooter to yield instead of stopping at an intersection of two highways controlled by a stop sign. The subcommittee recommended reporting with the amendment 7-1, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll. Clerk will close the roll. Bill reports 11-8. Delegate Reed.
Madam Chair, House Bill 1266 also has technical amendments, which I will ask the council to please describe.
Madam Chair, this is that corresponding bill that we discussed in conjunction with Delegate Carr's bill. This is 1266, Delegate Willard's bill. The substitute that's been provided online removes the overlapping sections so that both bills can move forward independent of one another.
I move the amendments, Madam Chair.
I do have a question from Delegate Wyatt.
At the proper time, Madam Chair.
Okay, we'll move the amendments. We'll get the amendments before us. So I hear a motion to adopt the amendments. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the amended bill is before us. Delegate Wyatt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I see VDOT or maybe Virginia State Police. I do have a question pertaining to safety, roadway safety, and cyclists on the road. The numbers of accidents pertaining to bicycles, is that trending, increasing, decreasing? You know, the bill we just voted on, these bills are going to allow those folks, instead of stopping, coming to a complete stop at a stop sign, like every pedestrian, every motor vehicle, they will be able to yield and just proceed through. And I see it as a roadway safety aspect to require those folks to stop as well. Maybe where are the numbers as far as bicyclists or accidents pertaining to our roadways in the Commonwealth? Or, the administration maybe.
Thank you, Delegate White, for the question. I think Virginia State Police, DMV, and VDOT have been working on this and continue to work on it, and I think might be able to share a few more details that will be important for consideration of these. Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair, Ron Maxey, Virginia State Police. Madam Chair, Delegate Wyatt. Virginia, I just checked with the DMV Commissioner since they are in charge of the Highway Safety Office. He says currently we're trending level here in Virginia. Reference this bill, a lot of this is based on legislation that was passed in 2017 in Delaware under the Bicycle Friendly Act. I would point out that this is one of the pieces of that legislation, and in Delaware since 2017 to 2022, which was last year that Delaware is reporting, their fatality rate has actually increased since passage of this legislation to 75%. In fact, from 2021 to 2022, the fatality rate with bicyclists is up 250%.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Delegate Austin.
Madam Chair, speaking to the bill.
Delegate has the floor.
Madam Chair, these cyclist bills, currently cyclists are to follow the motor vehicle laws and operate on the highways in accordance. And as we continue to deviate and give latitude, I think we're setting up an unsafe situation. Where I live, just recently there was a young lady struck and killed on a bicycle on a 4-lane highway. And I was in the posture to carry a bill this year that would say that cyclists could not ride in tandem, side by side. That happens a lot where I live, and a lot of the roads are secondary roads, and they're hardly passable by two cars. I mean, they're very narrow. And I just think that we should stick to the current laws and allow law enforcement to understand that cyclists at stop signs and at crosswalks and on city streets have to comply with the current statute of the motor vehicle laws, so we understand. And if you see a cyclist approaching a stop sign and you're in a vehicle, you know that he should stop, not that he could proceed or do a soft stop or whatever. But for that reason, I'm going to throw up a no on Delegate Willis' bill. I think I'm real concerned that as we give greater and greater latitude, we're going to create more and more unsafe situations, Madam Chair. So that's my position with the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. If there's no other questions from the committee, I believe Chair Reed made a motion to report the substitute. Was there a second? Second. All right, it's been moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll.
Madam Chair, I think it would be report the substitute with amendments because we did have those technical amendments. Would that? No.
It's just a new substitute.
New substitute.
New
Okay,
substitute.
I'm sorry.
Right. Thank you. All right, the clerk will close the roll. The bill reports 10 to 8.
And Madam Chair, that completes my report.
Thank you, Delegate. All right, next we have Subcommittee 4 report from Delegate Glass.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Subcommittee 4 took several administrative actions. We'll go through this as we roll through. First up is House Bill 20. Delegate Jones authorizes a governing body of any county, city, or town to provide an ordinance for the placement or operation of speed monitoring devices in any location deemed necessary by the locality for the purposes of recording violations from operating vehicles excess of the speed limit. The subcommittee, actually, I do have a question. Do you want me to incorporate these before we report?
Yes,
incorporation.
Delegate, I think if we could get through the administrative actions and get
Let's do that. Okay, so bills to go ahead and incorporate onto House Bill 20, Jones, the speed monitoring devices. We had 3 bills to incorporate into House Bill 20. It would be House Bill 521, House Bill 533, and House Bill 905.
All right, so there's been a motion to incorporate. Is there a second? Second. All right, that's a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, the bills are incorporated. Delegate Glass.
Okay, also, bills that we wish to continue to 2023, that would be House Bill 20 and House Bill 622.
Okay. That is also a voice vote. So there's been a motion made and seconded. All those in favor to continue the mentioned bills to 2023 say aye. Aye. Delegate Reed?
I believe that would be continued to 2025.
It is. We don't want to go back. Oh my God. Gratitude.
Did I even say? I read it right off.
Went with
did I
it.
say 25 or it said 23?
2025. I said 2023.
Well, it is. Yeah, we're just reading. I think little typo. It's all right. We're getting there. Thank you for catching that, Delegate Reed. All right, so the motion is to continue to 2025. Those bills mentioned. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Those bills have been continued.
Bills to incorporate as well as House Bill 1072, the school crossing zones. We would like to incorporate House Bill 21.
All right, so it's been moved to incorporate. Is there a second? Second. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the bill is incorporated. Chair Glass.
Okay, so moving on to House Bill, House Bill 924. This bill is about transportation networks, requiring transportation networks and companies to deliver to publish on its public website and associated digital platforms certain information regarding average on how much the TNC and DNC partners work. I believe for this bill that the Patron has a new substitute for the full committee.
Thank you, Delegate, or Chair Glass. Delegate Srinivasan, I do understand you have a substitute. If you'd like council to report the substitute.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
I move the substitute.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, if council could report the substitute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I speak to the substitute, or you would like to?
Madam Chair, I would love to have the page.
Sure,
substitute
sure,
addresses
Delegate, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The substitute addresses concerns from various stakeholders by removing the disclosure requirement on the use of nonlinear compensation and reporting requirement of data by market area or metropolitan statistical area. The substitute instead requires TNCs to publish an annual report containing aggregate data with the Commissioner of the DMV and the chairs of House and Senate Transportation. After some additional conversations this morning, Madam Chair, I would like to propose several line amendments for the committee's consideration.
Go ahead.
On lines 75 to 76, strike who shall publish such report on the department's website. And I also want to strike out line 76 to 77 and the chairman of the House and Senate committees on transportation.
If those are the amendments.
And then one more. Madam
Okay,
Chair.
go ahead.
On line 90, strike the total time driving while transporting a passenger.
All right, are those all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do we hear a motion to accept the amendments?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amended bill is before us, Delegate.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Relieves concern for your bill for the most part.
Yeah, these amendments should address most of the stakeholder concerns regarding the sharing of proprietary information with competitors.
Okay.
Madam Chair, can I speak briefly to the bill?
Yes, go ahead, Delegate
Thank
Srinivasan.
you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And committee members, HB 924 is a straightforward transparency and compliance measure that will provide invaluable information to drivers that partner with the TNC companies. In addition to the annual report, the bill before you directs TNC companies to provide each partner with a weekly summary that includes total fare collected, total amount earned, and percentage earned by the partner. While the percentage may not seem necessary, given the fact that a partner driver could calculate it for themselves, I have come to understand that it will make it easier and simpler for the drivers. Several of them have talked to me, and they've expressed their desire, given how they operate every day and every week, given the nature of their work, it'll make it easier and simpler. The bill would still require network companies to disclose the details of the deactivation process when they remove a partner from the platform. That will bring more transparency. Thank you again all for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Delegate. If there's any questions to the committee on the nature of the substitute and amendments that are before us that make the bill different from how it was when it was heard in subcommittee, Delegate Glass.
Gratitude, Madam Chair. For the patron, does the bill, my concern is because I'm trying to track and read as long as we go and get this in real time. Does it still provide the transparency that is needed to the drivers? Or specifically for the TNC point, and my biggest consideration question is does this bill still get to the intent of what you were originally trying to do?
Madam Chair, can I address?
Yeah, Delegate Srinivasan.
Thank you, Delegate Glass. I think yes, and I'll tell you why. Because right now there is no annual report. There is no reporting to the Commonwealth of Virginia. This would make that happen. It's an annual report which is provided to the Commissioner, and I have talked to the stakeholders. To continue to work on this through summer and fall of this year as we bring more discussion into it. So that's one thing. Number two, in my conversation with the drivers, the percentage, as I said, may sound simple, but it's a big thing for them to make it easier and simpler to use. So this bill would require that. And the deactivation process, that's a big one for them. Right now they're flying blind. This would direct the companies to be more transparent about the deactivation, which is very important to them. Thank you.
Delegate Cohen.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I wondered, might we have the opportunity to hear from any representatives who have a concern with this final version, speaking to Delegate Glass's point? Do we have the opportunity to do that?
So, Delegate, I think, as mentioned at the start of the meeting, we're not going to hear testimony on bills that came reported out of subcommittees unamended. Since this bill does have a new substitute and new language, I will take the opportunity for anyone who would like to speak for or against the particular amendments that the delegate is providing today. This is not an opportunity to relitigate the underlying concept that was discussed in subcommittee, but the opportunity to weigh in on the proposed language that the delegate's bringing before the full committee today. So anyone here to speak for the bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. David Skiles with the Vector Corporation, representing Uber Technologies. One, I want to thank the patron. We've had a lot of conversations about this bill over the weekend, and there have been a lot of substitutes and line amendments. But I think generally speaking, the concerns that we expressed at the subcommittee on Friday have been addressed in the substitute and the subsequent line amendments that were offered earlier. The only remaining issue that we were going to continue to talk with the delegate about is the language surrounding the percentage earned in our weekly summary. Uber, as a company that maintains best practices, we already provide the deactivation process, and so codifying that is certainly fine. And we already provide weekly summaries to our drivers in terms of the total amount earned and their portion of the fares as compensation. We do not provide that information in a percentage format. That is certainly something that the driver could calculate on their own with the information they get. And so that's a continuing conversation. But generally speaking, Uber is comfortable with the bill as it's before you. And again, want to thank the patron and several committee members who worked over the weekend to get this in a much better posture.
Delegate Anthony, a question?
So are the drivers trained on how to read their weekly reports if they have to calculate things on their own? Just can you speak to that?
Yep. Madam Chair and Delegate Anthony, I certainly can't speak for every one of our partners and their ability to operate the app. I know if I were driving, I probably wouldn't because I'm technologically illiterate. But all joking aside, it's certainly a weekly summary that they get via email. And they do have, when they are onboarded, a tutorial to go through how to operate the app as they use that to accept rides. So I would argue that on balance, they are able to understand.
Follow-up question, Delegate Anthony.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So so not specifically about reading the report. They're not trained specifically on how to read that and how to interpret that report. Yes or no?
Madam Chair and Delegate Anthony, I guess I would answer in a yes or no format, no. That being said, and I have a copy of the weekly summary and what it looks like. It's pretty clear and how the email is drafted, the summary is drafted, exactly what the total earned by the driver was, and then the portion that was paid to them as compensation.
Delegate Cohen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I would have a question about what is the issue with the percentage? Just asking our representative here.
Madam Chair, Delegate Cohen, if I understand your question correctly, we simply don't provide that information in the summary that comes. It's not a matter of withholding it. It's just not a line on the summary email that they get. That would require us to retool the summary. Obviously, Uber is operates internationally in all 50 states, and so we would be retooling that summary email for one particular state. Again, we're continuing that discussion with the delegate patron, and I just want to highlight that is one outstanding issue. But again, we're very grateful for his work on this over the weekend.
Delegate Milday.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question: do you have any idea how for the drivers, your partners in Virginia or the United States, how many of them use this as their primary source of income or a full-time job versus how many are doing this as a supplement to some other type of job?
Madam Chair and Delegate Milday, I don't have that information offhand. We can certainly get some further data to you offline, but I don't have that number off the top of my head.
Thank you. One follow-up question, Madam Chair.
Yes, Delegate Milday.
Is the contract that you enter into with your partners, are they allowed to? How easy is it for them to just quit? If they're not happy with their job, are they allowed to leave you? Are they bound or penalized for leaving in a quick fashion or not giving you notice?
Madam Chair and Delegate Milday, it is like anything else. They're not bound by any contractual requirements. They can drive on the app for a week and then not drive for a month and come back. Obviously, we have a deactivation process, so I'm sure that there's some ways in which we cull drivers who haven't been operating for a very long time. But on balance, you're not required to give notice or anything like that since they are independent contractors.
Thank you very much.
Delegate Austin.
Madam Chair, I don't have a question. I just like to make a comment. I was here when we adopted the Uber bill originally, and it was quite an extensive process, and we worked through the difficulties of it, and we had some fairly great reservations as to the success and how effective it would be, and it's proven to be very effective, and it's opened up opportunities for a lot of individuals to subsidize their income or while they're going to school create income, and I really don't see why there would be a need for a percentage on the report. I mean, I think the drivers are being compensated. The information that's been provided for years has seemed to be accommodating and all that was requested. But I just think that the TNC opportunities in Virginia have served us very well. And but I don't understand the need here. Maybe I'm overlooking something. But thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate. All right, seeing no other questions from the committee, I do, since we are looking at new language, want to make sure if there's anyone in the room that's here to speak for the bill, or if there's anyone here to speak for the amended bill. And we've heard testimony on the underlying concept, but for the amendments that we have before us that we're currently considering.
Tram Win with New Virginia Majority. Thank Delegate Srinivasan for carrying this legislation. We work with hundreds of Uber drivers and Lyft drivers, especially in Northern Virginia, and they have really wanted legislation to provide more transparency around their pay compensation. We think that the amended version gets us closer to where we need to be, and so we support it. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Julia Newton, SEIU, and we support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here opposing the amended language? All right. Was there a motion from the committee? Well, we did adopt the substitute. So do we hear a motion on the substitute before? All right. This is to adopt the language of the substitute. We may have done that, but all those in favor say aye of the substitute language, just to make sure. Aye. Okay, so the substituted bill is before us. Do we have a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll. Substitute with amendments. All right, clerk will close the roll. Bill reports. Thank you, Delegate.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and the members of the committee.
Thank you. Delegate Glass, your report.
Gratitude, Madam Chair. The second bill is House Bill 925. This requires landlord that owns a parking lot of a multifamily dwelling unit defined in the bill to provide 24 hours notice prior to removing or requesting removal of a resident's vehicles. The subcommittee recommends reporting with the substitute on a vote of 5-3, and I so move.
Second. So moved and seconded to report the substitute. With substitute, clerk will open the roll. Clerk will close the roll. Chair Glass.
House Bill 957. This bill provides that a violation of a current law for towing truck drivers and towing recovery operators are subject to the Virginia Consumer Protection Act. This bill repeals the 150 civil penalty for certain towing violations in Planning District 8. The subcommittee recommends a reporting with the substitute of 8-0.
Is there a second? Second. All right, and that's HB 959, moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll.
Okay.
Clerk will close the roll. Bill reports 19-0. Chair Glass.
Next is House Bill 1073 from Delegate Carr, which prohibits tow truck drivers from driving by a scene of a wrecked disabled vehicle that is subject to law enforcement requested tow. It initiate contact with the owner or operator of such vehicle while soliciting or offering towing services and towing such vehicle. The subcommittee recommends reporting with amendments on a vote of 8-0, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll. The clerk will close the roll. Bill reports 19-0. Chair Glass.
House Bill 1287 clarifies that the provisions of existing law authorizing localities in Planning District 8 to require towing companies that tow from a county to storage or release location outside of the locality to obtain a permit to do so, not restrict or modify the authority of the locality to require the towing companies that tow and store or release vehicles within the county, city, or town to obtain from the locality a permit to do so. The subcommittee recommends reporting on a vote of 5-3, and I so move.
I do have a question on the board from Delegate Wiley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I spoke to some folks from Arlington County, and if we, from the committee, at the time, the attorney wasn't available, and I didn't get some of the questions I needed to answer on the FOIA information. I think the attorney's available online or somewhere in this building to answer my questions in regards to the FOIA information that was supplied from the towing folks, and I want to get your perspective from your side so that I can get a valid both sides of the story. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Delegate, and I do see the attorney for Arlington County online to answer those questions. Go ahead.
I'm here. I'm here to answer the question.
Okay, Delegate Wiley.
I'm sorry.
So there was some statistics that came from, and this is through a FOIA through Mr. Banka and his folks that he represents in the towing industry in Planning District 8, Madam Chair, and it spoke to basically the FOIA information. The results of it show a very small percentage of issues with the towing and how they're going about the towing business and towing vehicles accordingly. And I didn't know whether that information, have you seen it? Do you have compelling other FOIA information that says otherwise, or am I missing something?
I have seen the FOIA information. It is not quite relevant to what we're asking for here because this bill isn't in response to any particular incident. What we're asking for is truly a technical fix for some language in Section D that I think came about because of a Supreme Court case in 2010. So that case was very specific, and it said, that the Fairfax County didn't have certain authorities. So in 2012, that language was changed, and if you look at the Section D, that's why that language is so incredibly specific. Unfortunately, because of the way the rules of statutory construction is done, that very specific language could give rise to the inference that we don't have the authority for the rest of the Commonwealth, the general authority. So what we're trying to do here isn't really in response to any particular incident. We just want some parity with the rest of the Commonwealth so that we have all the tools in the toolbox as everyone else.
Follow-up question, Madam Chair.
Yes, follow-up from Delegate Wiley.
So the way that I'm reading this bill, and could you tell me, or maybe somebody in council here can advise me, that the way this bill is crafted, is it similar to the other, I guess, comparable jurisdictions that have the towing regulations and how they set up protocol in terms of enforcement and working with the towing industry in their municipalities' respective?
And Delegate,
Yes.
I think if we could direct that to our council, since it is looking at statewide policy.
Madam Chair, the statute right now reads as granting general authority to the localities regarding trespass towing, and then the limitation regarding permitting of localities outside of the locality in question applies just to Planning District 8. So what this language would do would clarify that that grant of authority does not also constitute a taking of the authority to permit those businesses within the locality.
And
final
follow-up question.
Yep,
Thank you, ma'am, and I'll be done, I promise. I think where I'm going with this is we hear these every year, and it'd be nice to see the respective planning district to be taking over the enforcement of this, of the towing industry, rather than the Commonwealth constantly babysitting this neck of the woods. And I question, is that where we're going with this bill? Is that the intent? Or maybe I'm misreading it. Back to council, thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair, this would authorize the locality to handle the permitting and regulation of the towing operators that operate within the locality.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, there's no other questions from the committee. There was a motion from the subcommittee chair that, to report, and that was seconded, and the clerk will open the roll. Right. And clerk will close the roll. Delegate Chair Glass.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1362 prohibits a private vendor contracting with the school division for the operation of school bus monitoring systems to capture passing stop school bus violations from receiving compensation or fees based on the number of citations issued. The subcommittee recommended reporting with amendments on a vote of 7-0.
Second. It's been moved and
I so move.
It's been moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll. Clerk will close the roll. Bill reports 19-0. And let's see, Delegate Chair Glass, does that complete your committee's report?
That completes my committee report.
Thank you for your work. Next, we have Subcommittee 1, Delegate Sewell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the substitute.
Turn my mic back on. Moved and seconded, substitute for, we're on 1419. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the bill is before us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1419, patroned by Delegate Kilgore, makes mandatory rather than discretionary the establishment of an electronic titling and registration program by the Department of Motor Vehicles. The bill expands the electronic titling program from original motor vehicle titles to all motor vehicle titles. The subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute and referring to the Committee on Appropriations by a vote of 8-0, and I so move.
Second. To be moved and seconded to report and refer to appropriations, the clerk will open the roll.
Yes.
With substitute. Clerk will close the roll. The bill reports. And Delegate Sewell, does that complete your report?
That does, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to our subcommittee chairs. That completes the bills on the docket for House Transportation today. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. We're adjourned.